Good morning to some, good afternoon to others. This is the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show, and today is law number 9, the Law of Magnetism. Welcome. We're getting going right now. Hello, hello.
Hey everyone.
Hello.
Welcome to this MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show. We are Jeffrey David Gamble of My Leadership Network, also certified John Maxwell trainer, and Bess McCarty of the MLM Millionaire Club, School for Network Marketers, also called the Shrink of MLM. So like Jeff said, today is number 9, the Law of Magnetism. You attract who you are. What a hard look in the mirror that can be. So if you're watching the replay, we'd love if you type in replay. If you know people that could get value from this, who would who would love to learn to be a leader, because everything rises and falls on leadership, John Maxwell says. That's pretty strong. That's a pretty strong statement. If you know a group that would like to hear about this, we'd love if you post that now so that other people could benefit from hearing this whole thing live. And wanted to let you know that our purpose is to help people grow, to educate, equip, and empower entrepreneurs and create independent servant leaders. So Jeff, the Law of Magnetism, that can be a hard look at oneself, can't it?
Yeah, to say the least. So what we're going to do is we're going to run into this. So grab a pen, grab a piece of paper. Important information for sure that we're going to go over. This was one of the laws that really changed a lot of things for my own business when I wanted to attract certain people. So the law of magnetism, it says leaders attract people like themselves. Unfortunately, you attract who you are, not what you want. Who you are is actually who you're attracting. So certain people want certain people on your team. You want them to have certain attributes. You want your avatar, who you're looking for. But unfortunately, what they're doing is they're looking back at you. So here's some learning laws. If you want to learn the law of magnetism, one of the first things is generation. Most organizations, groups, companies, and even departments attract individuals similar to their age, similar to their background, similar to where they grew up. So when people say, well, why is that group or why is that organization, like that? Well, it has a lot to do with the initial leadership that set it up. You're going to attract those sort of people. Backgrounds, the personal circumstances and experience that help to shape someone's life. For example, ethnic, social, upbringing, education, work experience. Why is it everybody there has a degree? Why is it everybody there has gone to a private school? Well, because you attract people who are like you. So initially you're going to get into conversations, especially inside of groups, inside of organizations, where you're starting out. If you start out and you're in the manufacturing industry and most of the people are manufacturers, you're probably going to start out with that initial group of people. I just ran into a person that's involved in a networking organization. This is not a network marketing company, but a networking organization. And I said, when you first got started, what did you do? She's like, well, all I knew is professional people. So all we talked to was professional people. So the entire group is made up of, high-level people, outside sales reps, dentists, doctors. Those were the people we were already selling to. Those were the group of people. We were all new to direct sales. We were all new to network marketing. We didn't know anything about this industry. We didn't know anything about the people, in the outside world. We just liked what we heard. And because the initial group got started, then it just kept trickling down that way. Attitude, the way a person views something or tends to behave towards it. So if you get around a super positive group of people, you're probably going to attract, if that's who you are, you're going to attract a super group of positive people. The same is, true on the opposite side. If you're not positive, if you're around a group of negative people, you're probably going to attract a group of negative people. Living the law of magnetism. Before going any farther, make a list of the qualities you're looking for in people and surround yourself by them. Not determine if you possess, now you have to determine, do you possess those qualities? So when you say, here's the avatar, here's what I want. I want people who are excited. I want people who are on the ball. I want people who are honest. I want people who show up on time. I want people who are going to follow through. Then you have to go back through and ask yourself this question. There's a really good list in the 21 Irrefutable Qualities of a Leader. That's a great book to start with because it has the qualities that you should be looking for in leadership. Take time now to establish your personal list. It says a mission statement. What am I about, or who am I? You know, we like to call it an MVP statement. Your mission is basically how you're going to get somewhere. Your vision is where you're going to be at a certain destination and time. And then your purpose is all about, you know, why you're doing what you're doing. A vision statement, what you'll do next or where you'll be in the next 5 years. Core values, what do you believe in? That's a good one to list. Social contract, how will I act? And who will I be accountable to? Who are the people you look up to? So when you're looking to build an organization, find people who have built an organization. Find out what they did. Find out who they attract. Find out why they do what they do. Internalize your mission and vision statement as well as your core values and your social contract. Live up to them. So you can't necessarily expect, you know, excitement on your team if you're not excitement. You can't necessarily expect hard work on your team if you're not hardworking. James, what's happening? Denise is with us as well. So these are things that you want to attract. You know, the cool thing is, you know, diversity. If you want diversity, you have to have diverse friends to begin with. If if everybody you know is exactly the same as you, then you're not going to get that diversity, which is kind of cool. I've always been around teams and been on organizations that have a diverse group of people, every background, every race. I've always liked that. So we've always been able to attract that. You know, but I'm like that outside the business, not just inside the business. Find people who believe what you believe, think different thoughts. So, you know, believe, you know, you can believe in strong core values of, I have family values. You know, I believe spending time with your significant other is important. I believe working together as a team is important. If that's how you feel, you're going to find other people like that across the board. You know, even if you go overseas, those are the things, those are the qualities that are going to stand out. If you're excited about what you do, if you're positive about what you do, guys, you can be positive in a foreign language and you can be negative in a foreign language. I've seen both. You know, you can be, you know, outgoing, you know, in a different language. Even if you don't know the language, it's amazing how that stuff comes across. So that's what I have for the first part of the Law of Magnetism. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this over to Bess for a couple of minutes and get her thoughts.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. That's a lot of things to look at in ourselves and in others. And I'd like to welcome Nancy, Joyce, Jennifer, Denise, Mary, and James. So glad you are here. And just the fact that you are here shows me that you are a person who works on themselves and develops their own personal growth. Jeff is a bodybuilder. I know he works on his body, but he also works on his character. He works on personal growth every day, and I do too. And the people who are attending, you do too, because otherwise you wouldn't be here. So acknowledge that within yourself, and we thank you for doing your personal growth work and building your character. Since we know that we attract who we are, I wanted to put a little thought in your minds about valuing who you are. You are not, so many people have a low esteem of themselves. I'll say this. And I would love if you acknowledge to yourself that you are a creative being, limitless, a limitless creative being. How many people can grasp that about themselves? You're capable of creating anything, of creating the life that you want. I thank you for the likes and loves. Maybe that means you agree with that. But why don't you type in yes, if you are willing to see yourself as a powerful, creative, limitless being. The only limits are the ones we put in ourselves. Let's value this about ourselves so that then we attract people like this. We don't really grasp who we are, I think. We carry memories from childhood of being put down, of saying, oh, you can't do that. You shouldn't want that. You can't do that right. You know, all of these negative things that we heard and we input into our programming, and that we replay and we tell ourselves, oh yes, I love all the yeses coming through. So when we say, oh, we are who we attract, the temptation is really to look at our faults and correct those. And absolutely we want to do that. But first of all, and foundationally, let's look at the beauty that we are, because the more, this is esoteric, I know, but the more that we see this in ourselves, the more we will see that in other people and attract that and bring that out in them, of course. The more that I can love myself and appreciate and value myself, I become happy. And I see this in other people. So I get in a group of people and say that you want to attract prospects for your business. I get in this group of people and I begin to see the beauty in them, and compliment, as we've talked before in these sessions, to compliment and bring out the beauty in them. Look for something good that you can spot in another person and say that, and build and edify them. And these will be not only the type of people that you attract, but also the qualities within these people that you attract and bring to you. So I'll share a little bit more in a bit too, and I'll send this back to Jeff now.
So I'm going to go through, actually, I just pulled the book from the shelf. This is the 21 indispensable qualities of a leader. So these are some of the qualities that you want to attract inside of, your own company. Character, be the piece of the rock. Charisma, the first impression can seal the deal. Commitment, it separates doers from dreamers. Communication, without it, you travel alone. Competence, if you build it, they will come. Courage, one person with courage. Discernment, put an end to unsolved mysteries. Focus, the sharper it is, the sharper you are. Generosity, your candle loses nothing by lighting another's. Initiative, you won't leave home without it. Listening, connecting with their heart, but use your ears. Passion, take this life and love it. Positive attitude, if you believe you can, you can. Problem solving, you can't let your problems be problems. Brent's with us, Julie's with us, watching right now. What's happening? Relationships, if you get along, they'll go along. Responsibility, if you won't carry the ball, you can't lead the team. Security, competence never compensates for insecurity. Self-discipline, the first person you lead is you. I wish that would have been the first lesson that I would have learned. Servanthood, to get ahead, put others first. Teachability, to keep leading, keep learning. And vision, you can only seize only what you see. So these are just some of the 21 qualities that you actually want to look at. A fantastic book. I know Josh has this book. Josh just jumped on with us. So 21 indispensable qualities of a leader. These are things that you want. Now, if you look at, building your business and putting together assembling a team of people, whether it's a direct sales team, whether it's a voluntary organization, whether it's a non-for-profit, you need to look at who you are. What are you good at? What are your strengths? I think it's funny. I was talking to a friend the other day and he's like, I just don't understand why everybody's going in a different direction and this, that, and the other thing. And it was so funny because this person just got done telling me they were going in 40 directions. So I'm like, well, you're attracting like who you are. And they're like, yeah, but I want these type of people. And I'm like, then you're going to need to choose something and pick something and go in a certain direction if you want everybody else to follow. That's just kind of the way it is. So this was a hard lesson to learn, about discipline. So I learned from Jim Rohn, how you do anything is how you'll do everything. So I started focusing on the things that I was really good at, because John Maxwell says focus on your strength. So because I was positive, because I liked working out, I used that discipline to then leak over into other areas. And then as I saw things that I needed to fix, as I saw things that I needed to improve, I started working on those things. That was just me trying to figure out how it works. Just things that I was trying to figure out and put together. So with that, I'm going to turn this back over to Bess for some thoughts before we go into leading others to the law of magnetism.
Okay, so if you are unhappy with the people that you attract, then look at your leadership skills and if you want to improve the reliability of your followers, then look at your character, like these things that Jeff was just reading to you. So many times we've heard of, okay, I want this type of mate, and I'm going to list all these qualities of a mate that people that I want. Sometimes they're, you know, unrealistic and perfectionist and all this stuff. And this is all the good things I want in a mate. And so what we do is we say, okay, now let's turn this around and say, am I all of these things? What do I bring to the table? Am I these things? And it's a very good test to ask someone close to you who knows you, you know, what are my strengths and what are my weaknesses, so that we can work on these things. So am I this high type of person that I want in a mate? Am I this type of person that I want to draw to me? Like Jeff said, am I focused and going in one direction? Thank you for the likes and loves, everybody. Hello, Francisco and Jesse and Julie and Vicky. Welcome, everybody. So self-responsibility. Let's see, I'm going to gather my thoughts. I'll turn it back to Jeff right now.
Okay. So leading others to the law of magnetism, when you hear any statement concerning a leader's staff, especially in negative connotation, it's also a great idea to edify the staff and then sit down and figure out, you know, what's going on specifically, you know, with that group. When you go into a group and they're like, well, I can't get anybody who comes on time. I can't get anybody who does this. I had a horrible thing about starting on time. The reason being is I never started on time. I had, you know, a horrible trait of doing everything at the last minute. So therefore I had really, you know, hard time of having people who would do things at the last minute. When you hear a leader talk about the staff they wish they had, well, that's a perfect lesson to actually sit down and teach this particular law, the law of magnetism. And it's really a lot of self-reflecting. You know, people usually aren't ready to hear this until they learn the skill. What I found is you learn the skill, you go out and you try it and you try it and you try it and you try it, and you're out there beating your head against the wall. And at a certain point, you're like, okay, this isn't working. And that's when people come for help. You don't want to just bring up this lesson and point out what people are doing wrong, because what happens is inside your group, what people will just start pointing out what everybody else is doing wrong. So I wait until they're actually asking the questions before anything, because, you know, somebody who's in movement will create momentum, even if they're not necessarily doing it correctly. It's just a certain point that you have to, as a leader, you know, have the intuition to go in and be like, okay, here's some things we need to update. Here's some things we need to correct. Here's some things we need to figure out. You know, wait for that opportune moment to be able to teach some of these lessons. You can't go in and hammer people. But what you can also do is bring to their attention, they're like, hey, there's some things I'm not doing. There's some things I feel we need to work on. There's some things we're trying to figure out. So that's one of the reasons that I go out and actually do these trainings and bring people, you know, this information, is it helped me so much. So it's something, you know, if you want to point out what needs to be fixed, don't you point it out, have a third party point it out. You know, have a third party come in and say, hey guys, I'm getting a group of people together. I've got this trainer who's trained people in these different industries. They're coming in. They've been able to help groups grow. They've been able to help groups figure out what to do, how to do, when to do. And then you take those lessons, and instead of you saying it and you creating the resistance inside of your own business, you use a third party to do it. So with that, I'm going to turn this back over to Bess, and we are going to wrap this up here in the next few minutes. If we have any questions, or if you have any questions about the law of magnetism, who you're attracting, who you want on your team, and how to find them and get them, please go ahead and write it in the comments, or you know, ask us directly, instant message or text us.
Thank you very much. And also, please write in any insights that you have about this topic, about the law of magnetism, about leadership, or about or questions about network marketing too. So this is your chance to ask some network marketing coaches some questions. And speaking of coaches, that is one way to handle the challenge. Okay, we mentioned look at your strengths and look at your weaknesses and see how you can shore up your weaknesses. So if you look at those, what do you do with that with that list? Okay, I'd like to improve in these 5 areas. Or I ask a person close to me, well, these are my 5 greatest strengths, And these are my 5 weaknesses where there's room for improvement, and there always is, right? There's always the next step. So what do you do with that list? Well, you can get a mentor, a coach, upline, find someone who has the qualities that you want, somebody who's a little bit ahead of you in these areas, and work with them. You can watch them, you can emulate them, you can ask for their help, you can ask how they develop those, you can ask them for tips, you can ask them to work with you. And actually that's what Jeff and I do as coaches as well, is we help people to get those strengths. Now, other people can see what we can't, right? Because we're too close to ourselves. So every successful person has a coach. I think Tony Robbins said that, you know, he has coaches, Eric Worre has coaches, all of the top sports successful people, they all have coaches, because Tiger Woods, they all have someone that can see what they can and help them to the next level. They don't have to be perfect, but they can help you fill in your blind spots that you have. And so, of course, reading the personal growth books and listening to the tapes and everything as well. See yourself. This is what I do. I have plenty to work on, I'll tell you. So I write these out, and then I write the opposite. Like I write out where I goofed up or failed, or you know, failed to look at the other person's viewpoint, failed to compliment them before I criticized or asked for a suggestion. I'll write all these things out, and one day there was like 10 things that I saw in myself. I write them all in the left column. Then on the right column, I write down what I wish I would have done instead, or what I would do differently next time. Okay, I listen more to this person. If the situation comes up, I listen better. If the situation comes up again, I'm going to compliment them for the things that I value before I suggest that they change something that we're working on together. Next time, I'm going to ask the person, how are you, before I launch into what I have to share with them. So it's almost like a rehearsal. And you can actually rewrite history. You can go back and do those things in your mind the way that you wish you would have done them, as a rehearsal for the next time that opportunity comes up. Because life will always bring you an opportunity, a next time and a next time, to improve and to grow. That's how beneficial life is for us. So Julie says, want to read that, Jeff? Take that, Jeff.
So Julie says, third party is the key to what's going on at events. It's so important to get yourself out of the way. You know, when you're leading a team, always bring in someone else to point something out. It takes you out of the way, and it makes you a participant rather than, you know, the person. It's just so much easier to do. But here's the thing, you have to have the right person to be able to do it with. I've seen so many people, they'll try to use third party, and the third party they're using is of a lower leadership level. The third party they're using doesn't have the qualities that are attracting the people. So therefore, it doesn't work. It actually backfires on you. So it's not just using third party, because somebody says, well, third party is anybody or anything. Well, based on the law of leadership, that's actually not true. Because if you use somebody whose lid is actually lower than yours, and lid is lower than the people that you're talking to, they're not going to follow the instruction. They're not going to listen. They're not going to respect. So what you want to do is you want to find people to work with that are a higher level than you are, or are respected in a different way than you are, maybe have a different strength than you do. That's who you want to bring in to actually be the third party to use. And I've done it wrong many, many times, but it's amazing when you get it right what actually happens. Sorry, I'm typing something in to get this over to somebody. So these are just part of what I found to be really helpful inside of, you know, this lesson, the law of magnetism. So start working on yourself. You know, who do you want to attract? Who are some people that you want on your team? You know, you have to dress it up, clean it up, shave it up, you know, buff it, you know, whatever it takes to kind of get in front of the right people. What I found is people want to be around certain people. They want to be around happy people. They want to be around people who joke and have fun. You know, people who are so serious. You know, for a while I was so serious and so driven and so focused on what I was doing, I didn't realize I was trying to, you know, be on my game, but I was actually alienating a huge group of people who were like, yeah, he's getting somewhere, but he's not having fun doing it, so he's not attracting. What I found is some of the people who, you know, actually are able to build some of the biggest teams, in my mind, are some of like the biggest goofballs. They love to have fun, they love to joke around, you know, but in a way, it's all designed. And what I mean by designed is they have everything set up. They are organized. They are focused. They have their stuff together. They know what direction they're going in. They've mastered their skill. And when you've mastered your skill and you know exactly what you're doing and why you're doing, then you can start to relax and have fun. And you don't have to be so good at the presentation or so good at the contact. You can kind of dumb it down almost to kind of just be more fun, more fluid. It just kind of comes out a little bit easier. And you can, you know, I worked really hard because I was really bad at stuff. I worked really hard to get really good at stuff. Well, there's a certain point where you get so good that people are like, I like it, but I can never do that. I like what you do, you know, but you're so good. I can never do, I actually heard that. I can never do what you do. I can never present like you present. I can never speak. So then I realized I got too good. So then I had to go backwards and actually dumb it down. So that way it would be more believable for the people who are getting started. All the correct information was there. It was all in the right order, but it just wasn't so polished and so crisp. Now, there's a time and a place to be like that, you know, on stage in front of a group, a huge group of people. The bigger the group, the more you can do that kind of stuff. But it's better to be relatable. It's better to be, you know, close to the same level, mirror match people. So I think one of the laws of magnetism, here's a good one, is people love people like themselves. People love people like themselves. People love to like what you like and do what you do. David Wolf, who actually puts out a lot of content about health and nature and these type of things. One of the things he put out the other day is he said a lot of people will ask, in a lot of cultures this is true, a lot of people will ask what you do to actually figure out what level of respect they're going to give you. And I said, that's really interesting. I know that certain Asian cultures are like that, where they'll ask what you do ahead of time to know how to bow or how to introduce you. I said, that's funny because I asked that question to learn how to relate better to the person, to be able to identify their personality of most likely what their personality is, to find out why they're doing what they're doing, to be able to connect with them at a different level. I said, everybody has their reason for asking the question. I think, yes, in a lot of parts of the world, that is the reason why we ask that question. But, you know, asking questions even, that's one of the ways to find out who somebody is, to be able to attract, you know, to be able to attract with them, to be able to relate with them. One of the things I'm going to be doing this coming weekend, this Saturday, is actually going through the law of connection. But we're going to go over another one of John Maxwell's books, Everybody Communicates, Few Connect. And that's a great book that actually teaches the law of magnetism. It teaches the qualities of a leader. It teaches how not just to talk at somebody, but how to actually communicate and connect with them at a different level. So that way you can pass back and forth that respect. It's kind of amazing thing when you finally get this stuff right, and you're able to give credibility to somebody, and then they're able to take that and just dominate with it. Inside of their business. I know Jesse's on here. Jesse and I have talked many times about that. I know James was on here earlier. James and I have talked many times about this, about how to give that power to somebody else to be able to get it back afterwards, and then be able to direct a massive group of people. And I think that's what a lot of us want, is we want to bring on a big group of people to our team. But here's what you have to do. Typically, to build huge numbers, you have to bring on person by person by person. So this is stuff you're constantly working on. We talk about constantly sharpening our axe, using that law that Jim Rohn teaches, which is how you do anything is how you do everything. This is just something that you have to figure out how to do. And if you try to be everything, watch this, if you try to be everything to everybody, A, it won't work, and B, you'll burn yourself out. If you try to lead a big group of people and you try to be everything to everybody, you burn yourself out so quickly. It's very tiresome. It's stressful. It wears on you. Learn to relax a little bit and learn to connect with more people and give away as much power as you can, but you have to figure out how to do it with the right people. So often we want to give power to people who aren't ready to accept it, who aren't at that level. And sometimes that can backfire as well. So this is just a lesson you can learn. Jesse says you can't You just can't let your leaders lead and figure out ways to support them. Right. Jesse and I just had a conversation about a leader who, you know, we both know, and this leader happened to start working, and Jesse and I were like, well, the only thing that we could possibly do is get out of the way and, you know, figure out, you know, send a message, hey, if there's anything I can do, let us know. Otherwise, let them do what they do. So with that, I'm going to turn this back over to Bess for any closing thoughts before we wrap this one up.
Thanks, Jeff. I love what you said about people are attracted to people like them. So I thank you for doing such a good job of being real and approachable and fun. And when we tell on ourselves, and people can, then they feel like maybe they're less judged, right? Because we're always judging ourselves. And so, like Denise said, we want to remove the judgment, starting with ourselves. You know, have compassion and acceptance. I'm going to be human. I'm going to make mistakes. It's okay. You know, I can count on that. It's part of the plan, is to make mistakes and learn from them and go on. Also want to say hi to Laura and Isaac and Jesse, and thank you guys for being on here. If you are not yet a member of the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Facebook group, you can go there and request membership, and you get notifications, replays, and free book and everything. And community support, we have discussions over there. Any last questions, takeaways, insights that we can share? Because we want to learn from you too. Absolutely. Tomorrow, number 11, Law of Connection, which is kind of similar. These laws kind of start to overlap and flow into each other, don't they? So we heard a little bit already about how to connect with people. If you'd like to receive a text reminder for this, please private message me and I'll put you on my list. And back to Jeff.
Okay, guys, with that, we just want to wrap this up. We appreciate everybody for joining us every day, same place, same time. This is what we do. We go over one law each day of the 21 laws of leadership. It is generic, non-company specific. What we're trying to do is just get you to look at some of the things that you can be doing, some of the things you can polish up to be able to attract more people, build your team stronger, build yourself stronger, so that way you're able to attract better people. These are the lessons that, you know, I went out and bumbled and fumbled with. I screwed up in the beginning. I didn't understand that these lessons were really for me, not necessarily for me to push on other people. And as I worked on myself, I was able to attract better and better people, build better and better teams. Things got easier. Oh my gosh, when you start learning these lessons and you start doing them right, the ease at which you're able to bring people on, the ease at which you're able to do things just become, it's so different. It actually becomes enjoyable rather than a task. If you feel like you're beating your head against the wall, work harder on yourself than you do on anything else. If you work harder on yourself than you do on anything else, and then start sharing these lessons, start sharing the activity. And, you know, Jesse is actually on here, has been one of the people who's been really good about sharing what's going on. He said, share your activity, not just your results. Share what you're going out and doing. Make sure people see movement, because it's movement that creates momentum. And him and his wife are very, very good at doing that. So I appreciate everybody for being on. Thank you so much for your support. What you can do best for us is like, share, or comment. Send this to somebody who needs it. Send this to somebody who would enjoy it, somebody who would help. And we'll talk to everybody real soon. And we'll be on at the same time, same place tomorrow. You can check us out on YouTube as well at the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show, or on Facebook in our group. If you haven't joined it yet, please jump on and join it. If you're watching the replay, just type replay in the comments. We'd love to hear where you're from and what you got out of this. Thank you so much.